Hello, thank you all for being here. I'm overjoyed with the chance of be part of this today. And we are going to have special guests here at our YCL DCP warm-up event, which is called Opportunities Inside the Sustainable Food Systems. This event series we have monthly in preparation to our major event, the Day of the Climate Professional on November 22nd. So I will be the moderator today, and for the ones that are new here, I am Clarissa. I'm the head of marketing and partnership at YCL for almost 2 years now. I've been consolidating my career through sustainability and climate change, but I have a background of over 12 years working in advertisement agents. I'm extremely passionate about food and all the topics related to that. I'm an enthusiastic cook, and I've been studying for a while now at YCL, trying to understand several aspects of the climate crisis, thinking also about my son and looking at the future of the new generations. I feel this urgency to work on this theme and all the nuances. Our goal as a team is to keep working at projects and solutions that involve food and climate crisis within a network environment. Climate thinking is no longer an option, it's a necessity either for the job market or for the future of food. Considering how important this theme is, I had invited an organization that I admired a lot and had the opportunity to become their fellow last month. Future Food and Fellows, thank you for your time and availability to be here with us today. I'm proud and honored to be here with all of you guys. I see a lot of potential on both organizations and how our perspective and point of view may be well translated to young audience. And finally, let me give a context for both organizations, and then I will ask my dear guests to start to answer our questions that I prepared for today. So, regarding ICL, we were born in 2018, and now we are in 20 countries already with more than 13 hubs. On YCL, we train, connect, and empower young people to face the climate crisis, and we accelerate their climate careers. We basically achieve those goals through our learning journeys, networking opportunities. Future Food Institute, on the other hand, empower youth and feeders through their learning journeys. Their innovative methodology includes experimental learning aimed at an exponential positive change toward a more sustainable food system and better life on Earth. Julia can give more information during our section. So, again, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you all for accepting my invitation, and I would like to ask you to present yourself and your organization. I will kindly ask Julia to start.
Thank you, Clarissa. It's my honor to be here. You actually gave a pretty good starting line about future food. So just very shortly about myself, I'm also a graduate of one of the educational programs of the Future Food Institute, the Food Innovation Master Program. And since I graduated in 2018, I have been an active ambassador of Future Food and also designed and facilitated multiple educational projects with them, or also in independently in Berlin or Hungary. Last year, so 2020, that was last year, I was asked to project manage the Food and Climate Shaper boot camps, what we co-organize with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And I also became the director of community programs. So I also try to keep our Climate Shaper network active and engaged with different activities and projects, research initiatives, and innovation projects as well. Now, what I always explain about Future Food, that we have 3 pillars, what kind is represented in everything what we do. This is community, education, and innovation. So as you mentioned as well, we do have a lot of educational activities and programs for multidisciplinary, multi-generational audience. That also gives an added value to the programs, because diversity is one of the key components next to curiosity and courage, what we believe today's generation needs to actually achieve sustainable change. And besides that, we are also having physical spaces, but unfortunately over the past 1.5, 2 years was very difficult to meet in person. But we do have our living labs where we also give space for food innovators and everyone who is at least one way connected to food, and that's consumption. So it is literally for everyone in our living labs. The first living lab was born in Bologna. Since then, we also have other living labs in New York and Tokyo. And finally, the innovation part. We are heavily engaged with other food industry stakeholders and running different research and development projects for them, always with the focus of human and planetary needs when we design new services or products for our food system.
Great, thank you. Lunna?
I'm just with a smile because I'm so proud of being part of this project. So thank you, Julia. Well, I'm Lunna. I'm from Brazil. I am also a fellow from the Future Food Institute, but I graduated maybe in March. I don't remember anymore because the year it's going super, super fast. Life is in a weird pace, I would say. And I think that's also a good way for me to start talking about my project. It's called Vainana. And it's like bananas on the go. Vai in Portuguese and in Italian means to go. So I see banana skins and lately other fruits and vegetables too that I see people throwing on the ground, or that I found thrown on the ground. I'm so lucky that I've never really saw anyone on the act of doing it because I don't know how I would behave. But in 2017, I was doing a master in strategic design in Milan. And when we think about Europe, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I always thought that me moving there, I would see everything so clear, clean, everybody well educated. And it made me realize by the amount of trash, quote unquote, because in my opinion, food scrapes are definitely not trash. They could become so much more. That it kind of fascinated me, and it made me realize that we do have a lot of information. We simply don't know how to act from them, maybe because of lack of platforms or clear instructions. So Vainana is a project where I take trash, and with design, I create art. And in the word trash, if you go the other way around, it actually say art on the opposite direction. So where people see death or the end of something, I see art, or I see a way for me to talk about food insecurity, climate change in a way that maybe will go directly to people's hearts and make them want to make a change rather than be so overwhelmed with the information and lack of ability to act. And maybe start developing critical thinking and, I don't know, digging within themselves and understanding that creativity, it's out there. It's just a matter of us being so empowered by who we are, and then be able to together in our own weak ways do something good for the environment.
Thank you. Should we continue? Yeah. Let's continue with Nick, please.
Well, hello. Thank you very much, Clarissa, for having me here. And to Julia as well for my experience at the Future Food Institute. Is something I'm still quite amazed about. Just the ability to interact with so many people who are passionate about food and how to make our food systems better was just an invaluable experience. So again, thank you very much for that. So my name is Nick. I'm in Nairobi, Kenya, although right now I'm at the coast for a bit of time off. My work revolves around, so my company is called Organic Life, and what we do is that we empower smallholder farmers. We source products from farmers who ordinarily would not have access to the markets, and then elevate their stories and bring their products to the market, and in ways that give them value for their time and effort in the farming system. At the same time, I'm a chef and author, and I speak about food in different ways, and especially in the sense that food is not just an item for filling our stomachs, but it can be a very powerful tool that we can use to nourish our body, but also to replenish, our ecosystems. Because so far, up until where we are right now, humans have been living in a sense that we demand so much from the planet, and the planet is bending over backwards to satisfy all our needs, and not even our needs, all our wants, however depraved they are. And so it's time to, for instance, maybe have a mindset shift. Yeah, like food can be if you grow food in humane ways, in ways that are not destructive to the environment, then now it changes from just an action of well, I want to eat some of the things we work around at Organic Life. Also a member of the Chefs Manifesto, which is a global platform for chefs to come together and think about food in very positive ways, in the sense that, for example, Luna, you spoke about waste. So then that is one item that is something that is key to the Chef's Manifesto. Like, how do we transform the narrative of waste, right? Waste is just a concept that possibly to someone else is like, and what do you mean waste? What could be wasteful to you? It could be a gold mine to someone else. So we think around how we can use as a force for good from all the way in the value chain, from the seed all the way to the fork, and afterwards, now we're thinking about waste and what have you. So in a short while, that is who I am in a snapshot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Always inspiring ourselves. Saiz?
Well, thank you, Clarissa, for the opportunity and YCL, and it's wonderful to be here with such wonderful people and wonderful projects that are changing the world, and this gives me hope. My name is Saiz. I've graduated in Schumacher College 2 years ago in holistic science, and when I came back to Brazil, we funded Eco University, which is my project, that we call it Eco Uni, that it's a short name for the full name, and our purpose here is to bring sustainability, regeneration, climate change to the center of education, and to see education as every act of exchanging knowledge. And I believe that there is so much exchange of knowledge and of experience within food systems. And we can learn when we are cooking with our grandmas, and we can learn when we're planting. We can learn from the whole entire process of relating to food. And we believe that food is one of the most important fundamentals of life. As you said, everyone eats, so it's for everyone, and it's a preoccupation that everyone should be thinking about it, at least. And we have put our food production and our relationship to food on a side for other people, other companies to take care of. And we have been so separated from how our food is being produced and which types of food are we eating and what comes in the packages of foods that we buy on the supermarkets. And we have switched from being the people who is in contact with what we're eating and with plants that we know, to being consumers and to being completely afar from the process itself. So we want to bring this to the heart of conversation. We want to bring this to every single moment that we exchange, if it's wisdom, if it's experiences. Every time we exchange things between ourselves, we believe this to be points of education. And we see that sustainability and regeneration and learning about nature in the whole, in the more holistic sense, shouldn't be one theory that you see in one class, but it should be a more holistic value culturally that we have. So we need to understand that our connection with nature is intrinsic. So it is there. We are independent with the whole of nature. So if we are independent with the whole of nature, why don't we act as if we are? We act as nature is our resource, and we just take out, put it in, put it out, and that's it. But there's so much more to being human, and there's so much more that us as humanity can contribute to the entirety of the earth, but also of other living systems that do support our life. And I believe that food is the biggest support. I think there's air and water and there's other types of things that do support our life, but eating is one of the biggest things that keeps us alive. So it's one of the most important things that we need to be caring about. And we don't want to be in maybe 30 years, scientists do diverge between options, but we don't want to be in a foodless country or in a foodless world. We want to be in a world where abundance goes, and nature runs in abundance. It's we that is creating scarcity. So our organization, Eco University, wants to bring sustainability, climate change, and all that we're talking here to the center of everything that we learn from each other, because it's the most important thing we should be talking or thinking about. It's how do we sustain our life here on the planet in a way that it is so positive that other living beings do also want to be part of whatever we're doing. Because from what we're doing now is we're just creating walls between ourselves and the rest of the world. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to be discussing food, talking about food, and also to see that we all value food as something so much more than a diet or that's something that just comes and goes in our lives that we consume in the supermarket and that's it. But being center of our lives and being a connection to the system in a whole. So thank you, and I'm excited for our talk.
Thank you, Thais. And Thais is a YCL fellow as well.
Yes, sorry for forgetting to mention
No,
that.
no problem. No problem.
And I love the community. I'm super happy to be here.
Great. And I have to say, what a great team that we have here today, right? So now to start our conversation, I want to kindly ask Julia again to start to say first and to give an overall scenario regarding food innovation. As she said, she's an expert, and maybe she can give a background as well about the opportunities to young people with the topic in the food system. So we saw a lot of examples last month in the boot camp, so I think Julia can summarize something and share with us.
Definitely, thank you. And I started to use expert as less frequently because am I really an expert? I don't know. I do have a lot of experiences and I'm very happy to share that. And I think maybe the best way to explain is through my own example. So, well, I don't know if I can be considered young, but let's do that, okay? So basically, I started my studies in hospitality, right? So I went into revenue management, so something completely different. But what I mentioned already before, we all have a connection to food. And especially when you go abroad, food is something, a tool, how you can actually express yourself in a new environment and proudly share your culture and so on. So after moving from Hungary to the Netherlands and then from the Netherlands to Germany, street food became it had a momentum. And that was the point where I think the first signs of entrepreneurial spirit showed up in me. And I was attending, it was called the Food Entrepreneurs Club in Berlin. And I attended their full day event. And I got inspired by all these people who started off their small businesses and what they did. And that was, I think, the kick for me to also want to have something created on my own. Now, back in the days, my only connection to the food system was consumption and manufacturing or like cooking, let's put it this way. So I had a part-time food business, and at that moment I was struggling to survive. So it was more a game with costs and all of the things what you have to go through when you do your first business. And I did that as a part-time one women show. So at one point I felt like I didn't really, I couldn't think out of the box anymore, given the lot of effort what I put into my day job and then the kitchen shifts in the night. So that was the point when I decided I need to escape. And by escape, I meant I needed to get out of my comfort zone, my own environment, to actually learn more. And that's how I found the Food Innovation Master Program. And that sounded just the right opportunity at that moment with the global mission, what we did, which was a 60-day research around the world in different topics. And I can confidently say that that program, it was not a traditional, very academic master program, but that's also not what I was looking for. And if I would have had this chance earlier in my life, I think I can encourage everyone. You need to try out many, many things. I think our educational system is a tiny bit rigid, and they want you to decide at 18 what you actually want to do with the rest of your life. I don't think at 18 you can really make that decision because you haven't experienced enough. So the program and how it's basically built with inspiration, aspiration, and action, and that was also the structure what you could experience in the boot camp. I think it was crucial because that was my first point when I learned about the entire food system and all of the links which are maybe broken in this system, but also the opportunities. And I think Future Food actually taught me how to think about opportunities instead of problems. So that was the point where I saw how everything works from production through manufacturing, distribution, retail, and then finally consumption. Also thinking about the fact how much of a disconnection we have to where the food is produced. So if you ask me what are the opportunities in the food system, well, there are many. At every stage of the value chain, you will find opportunities where you can actually tap in. And I feel what we need to create, and I think we are, at least with our community, and I really hope that it's also a more inclusive community and not just operating in silos. We need to become inclusive. We need to have conversations with consumers in order to make a change. So that's how my journey started. And I have to be completely honest, because I think that helps the most the young generation. When I graduated, I went back to Berlin and I thought I will find a full-time job in food tech because I have software development background and now I have food innovation, and I am so employable that everyone will want to work with me. And it was a tiny bit more difficult because I thought my profile was more generalist, or that's how I was considered in application processes. And here is the point where I want to encourage everyone. Don't believe this. You are not a generalist when you have many experiences. You actually have a multi-potentialate profile. Now, it's obviously our job to figure out how to communicate that. So I think it was learning by doing, and that's when I decided I need to pursue different options. That's when I also started to engage with the Future Food Alumni Network and figure out how can I collaborate with others, even if they are at another part of the world, because we do face very similar problems in the food system. But we all have some solutions. And if we can share this knowledge with each other, that can be very helpful and impactful for our future. So that's where education comes in. And I don't know if education is the right word. I rather want to call it communication. Because yes, we can start, and it's very important. We talk about it, how great it would be if curriculum would be designed that people at a very early age can already learn about how to grow food. And it's essential. I think I agree we need to have that. But when we just start now, we also have to engage their parents. Because at the end of the day, the food decisions are made at home, and until a certain point, that's not made by the children. So those community engagement platforms, let it be edible school gardens or different solutions, again, are already existing. We just need to find what is the best for our own context. So after 2018, engaging with education and communication, I just reached a point that I launched my next entrepreneurial project in my home country, where I realized that my knowledge might be more needed. And if you asked me 2 years ago, I would never say I will come back to Hungary. But now here I am. I came back because I think I need to share all these experiences and open the horizon of Hungarian younger generation to all those experiences what I had. And so now I am working on a circular economy project, and we are creating upcycled foods. So this is my own journey. I hope that this is serving a great example how you can find your way in the food system.
Thank you so much for sharing, Julia. Amazing, amazing, inspiring statements. Thank you so much. It's a lot of. It's so
couldn't
much.
agree more on what Julia was saying. Just highlight a few things that really caught my eye and things that kind of I can relate to in my own country. Number one, the thing about education system. For instance, in Kenya, I don't know how it is, how it is called in different parts of the world, but in Kenya we have primary level, and then we have the secondary level. So when you're halfway through the secondary level, because the secondary level is 4 years, so there is Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4, right? So when you're in Form 2, they start to guide you around career choices. And I'm like, come on, man, I'm what, 11, 12, 13, 14? What do I know about career choices? Even if you brought me Elon Musk to guide me on career choices, I would not know what to do because it's irrelevant to me. But then again, it is instilled in us that for you to make it in life, you need to start thinking about, well, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be a doctor, you need to be an architect, you need to be a pilot, you need to be some kind of a professor, and you need to start thinking about this at a very young age, So, and I'm thinking there are people out here, who are instilling this kind of education system, and it's just wrong, it is not right, because finding one's path in life is not as simple as going through education system. You're given a list of options, you pick one, boom, you are this or you are that. It's murky, and it is complicated, and you meet different kinds of people and experiences, and you travel and you see different cultures, and you're inspired by different things, so that now when you tell me to make a decision by the time I'm 13, 14, 15, 16, that's just anyway. So I also love what you said, Julia, about opportunity versus challenges, because I think for the past probably year and a half, maybe 2 years or 3 years, I've learned as well to kind of see challenges as opportunities. Yeah. For instance, when you're speaking about the food systems value chain or the agricultural value chain, if I'm thinking about food wastage, boom, that's a problem, but it's also an opportunity. If I'm thinking about food transportation, boom, that's a problem, but it's also an opportunity. If I'm thinking about food preservation, boom, that's a problem, but it's also an opportunity, So, like, I feel it's like a fair balance or some kind of yin and yang, like, okay, fine, here is a problem, but also here's a chance for you to go think for yourself and bring something that the world needs to the table, So I really appreciate, that kind of thinking that you've just talked about.
I just want to compliment, if I can, Clarissa.
Sure, of course.
At that, I agree so much that the education system just takes out our creativity of life and our potential of life and puts us into this little boxes called professions. But I believe that there is also, if in food specifically, this value, if I can say this word, taking out value from being a farmer. So it's a problem here in Brazil, and I believe it is in Europe as well, that farmers are becoming older and older, and younger generations are not engaged into farming, into actually putting their hands on and growing food. And it's not something that the media is talking. It's not something that is marketed. Jobs behind the computer are so much more sexy or attractive to younger generations, and they pay more. And especially with the inequality here in Brazil, and I'm Brazilian, I forgot to tell you guys that, that this types of jobs tend to be things more avidly. And there is nothing wrong with farming, and I think it's a beautiful job, and there's so much intelligence and technology and innovation that can happen in this space. So I believe that in also in our education system, but if we put it aside in a sense that our profession can also be on the ground dealing with food, and there are so many food techs all around the supply chain, right? From producing to distributing to cooking and to all these parts of the project. I believe there's a lot, as Julia said, lots of opportunity for the younger generations to create their own projects, to participate in other people's projects, but to be part of the food movement and also to grow food. Because I've seen how frustrating, even for myself, how it is frustrating to just look out for jobs that you have to apply for, and that they are just restricted with things that you need to have, and all this bunch of specialized experience you need to have. But on the other side, there are people trying to change and creating incredible projects, as we're talking here. And here in Brazil, there is a big movement of agroforestry and agroecology that works towards creating sustainable food systems, and that younger generations are starting to see it as something more interesting. So I can actually grow food, and I can grow food within a diverse ecosystem. It's not monoculture. I'm not going to export this to some other country I don't know. I can create these food systems here with my friends and with my family. It can be fun, and I can feed my community. So I'd like to extend our talk here to creating local projects for if you can still hear me, yeah, to creating local projects that localize food systems, and that creates opportunities for younger generations to be part of growing food.
Great. Thank you so much, Thais. This is the mindset here today, right? So let's build some opportunities together, and let's understand how we can evolve all this education process to do these transitions to a sustainable food system. So I would like to ask you if Lunna can start to talk about how do you see the future of the food in your own work environment? So we already start to talk about this, but I want to understand specific. For example, yesterday we were talking, me and Lunna, in another event, and we were talking about in the art world. So I just want to understand in her specific environment and of you all, how you see the future of food on this.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and I wasn't finding it. I believe, and you guys probably have seen this, at least in Brazil, there are huge small companies, but in huge amounts, creating ink and so many other things from food scraps or from food itself, or other people like Vic Muniz, for instance. He has been doing this forever. Like, I am not reinventing the wheel or anything. More people using food scraps or trash to create art. And I remember it was in 2018, I was working with a startup from Los Angeles, and we were putting together a sustainable panel. And this, I mean, now we are talking about all these things, but I feel like a couple of years ago, and things are changing super fast, but maybe 5 years ago, all these ideas, they were still like kind of getting traction. So for me, thinking about in 2018, doing a sustainable panel where artists from different kinds of backgrounds and using different mediums, using trash and food to create art, was something so revolutionary. But people are doing this more and more. So I truly believe that because of the amount of information that we've been impacted with, more people are trying to recreate or actually create from something that maybe wouldn't have another use if it wasn't for their creativity. There is this company, a beautiful company in Brazil called Mancha. They create sustainable ink with very indigenous elements of not only fruits but also other plants, and I find them so inspiring. So I really hope, and I can see artists trying to be more mindful. For instance, something that I can say, it took me maybe a month doing research because I have my banana projects, the Vainana, and I wanted to make more stickers. But I do have paper stickers at this point, but they are not, I mean, they don't last so long. So it took me a month to try to find companies who were making a waterproof stickers that were also biodegradable. So I can see that companies that are so big are now maybe with one element, one specific kind of sticker, for instance, and just to give a context, just to give an example. But I can see there is a shift. And I see people trying to do things that are more maybe transitioning from, I don't know, canvas to something more digital, just for the matter of, using less resources, but also because of technology, we kind of need to be online anyway. So I can definitely see that shift, and it inspires me. I hope that I'll be able to keep up with it, because I am not a professional artist. I mean, this is definitely something that I do out of love rather than any expertise. So I see more people doing that, and I hope that will be the future. I think it is already. We're just walking towards the future now.
Yeah, and I believe that. Oh, please, please go quick. No, I just wanted to say that I believe that there is a special place in art in changing people's minds and showing different possibilities and showing creativity and innovation. And if we want to tackle climate change and all the problems that we're living, we will need lots of working together and creativity and lots of mind shift and changing. And why not start in these places? And also, I believe that artists do have a special talent for putting different meaning into things. So as you're saying, like we say that trash is an error of design. So trash shouldn't exist. It should be within the design of the system itself. So how can we use our creativity to rethink our processes through design itself? So I believe in eco-design being a concept that we can work a lot with any sector, but especially with food too, because food closes the chain in a circular economy very beautifully. And please, Nick, continue.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that I remember this past month when we were in the boot camp, there was one session that really has inspired me, and I'm trying to look for him. I think it's called Paul Levins, Julia, and he led the session on challenge-led agro-innovation. And so the whole idea was that when you want to solve for a problem X, or for instance, you want to solve for food preservation, because that's a huge thing, or food transportation or whatever, you do not just look inward, right? You do not just look inward. Okay, so fine, I have tomatoes, they're gonna go bad in 3 days. So how do I extend the shelf life? So when you just focus on that problem the way it is, as black and white, what happens is that you close yourself off to different opportunities or different possibilities that exist. They could. It's not even a matter of reinventing the wheel, as it were. It's just a matter of making connections. Like, okay, 1 + 1. Okay, so fine. How do I use what is already existing and apply it in different ways to come up with a new solution? Yeah. So this is something that really inspired me. And when I think about it, and when I think about the future of food, is it so far what has been happening, at least in my own learning journey, what I feel has been happening is that people in the food industry, for example, if you're a chef, or if you're a farmer, or if you're, extracting sugarcane juice from sugarcane somewhere in Brazil or whatever, you looked at in isolation, like, okay, fine, those are farmers, those are teachers, those are engineers, those are pilots. But you see, I feel that is wrong, because as you said earlier, in your first experience as with food was in you were first a consumer of food before you started doing anything with it. So we all consume food every day, if you're like it 3 times a day, but we isolate our cultures, our careers from that experience of food consumption, right? In other words, so then if I am a lawyer, how do I use my capacity in the legal field to improve an aspect of the food system? If I'm a forklift driver at the airport, how do I use that capacity to improve an aspect of the food system? In other words, these are not things that are happening in isolation. We can all kind of put our thoughts together, passively or actively. We can kind of think how we can merge our different cultures and background and careers and knowledge and perspectives to improve how we interact with food and how we look at food, especially now moving into the next 10, 20, 30 years. That I feel is something we take for granted a lot, like just using our own experiences to improve aspects of the food system.
Yeah, this is the kind of the mindset that we have to keep in mind. On YCL, we always talk about this, and yesterday, again, I spoke with Lunna, and I quote this kind of mindset, because we used to say everyone can be a climate professional. And regarding the food system, is related to the climate career. So everyone can use your potential to work to have a better food system. So I totally agree. And if I know this, like Julia, many years ago, I will be in a total different position, because, and this is a conversation almost to the young people. When you are young, you are thinking about that you have to have this kind of preparation, this kind of these skills, and this is not true. You are a unique person, and you can use your own skills, your own capabilities to work in a climate crisis or in a food system, things like this. So I'm totally aligned with you, Nick. And I don't know if someone wants to compliment. Otherwise, I will be starting to wrap it up and to ask the final question to you guys. No? Okay. So if you have to give an advice to the young people who want to work in this area and help the ecosystem to make this transition that we are talking about today to a sustainable food system, what should be?
I can go, if you don't mind. So first of all, I think I mentioned that before. I think you have to be curious. And Lunna said before, or maybe it was Saiz, sorry, someone said that certain professions are more attractive than others. Now, I believe you should figure out, like, try many. Try work where you need to use your hands, try work where you need to sit in front of a computer, but be curious and try to figure out what suits you best, because only because society and your community or your immediate surrounding has an opinion what is a successful career path, or how would you be successful in your future, that doesn't mean that it will actually make you happy. And I know the word happy it can be understood in a very different ways, but at the end of the day, you will spend so much time with the professional activities that you need to have a passion for it. And I know sometimes it can go over and then it kind of blends into your private life and so on. So you have to find balance. That's the other point, what I feel here. But is important to mention. But I think is very important that I see our younger generation is way more aware of the changes what needs to be made if they want to have a future. And I think they are also maybe better than my generation was to find opportunities, because media is completely full with that, right? So I think it is okay if you follow your peers, if your peers are actually giving you access to the information what is needed and help you to improve. So watch out for those opportunities and let it be a boot camp of 4 weeks, or I don't know, an online course, what you can also just do self-paced. If you have the opportunity and time, then do it, because it just gives you a better understanding what would suit you as an individual and how will you feel fulfilled at the end.
If I may compliment, I agree with you 100%. I think we should try out whatever feels our potential is being put out into the world. And I believe that humans have such a good potential of being stewards of the planet. So I am sure that younger generation can find their potential by experimenting. I would say to start within your community, or to look for communities who are doing this work, and there are many. So watch out for people who are talking about climate justice within the food system, for example, the Future Food Institute, but watch out for local communities as well. So local farmers, because they are the ones who are feeding the world. Look for people who are doing organic farming, look for people who are having startups in the food system, reach out to them. I think LinkedIn has been a very good platform for networking, so sending them a text, befriending. I think people in the climate and sustainability movement are such open people to connect and to speak and to change, because we know that the change is going to happen if we do it together. So no one is left out. Everyone is part of the system. So reach out to people that inspire you. Look out for projects that inspire you. Send them a text. Say, hi, I'm a young person wanting to work and to help the world. These are my ideas. Can we have 30 minutes of an online coffee? Now that we are all accustomed to online chatting, I'm sure that some people won't answer you because they're busy, but most of the people will make time to speak to you and guide you throughout the way. And I'm speaking of my own reference, because I did this so much after I came back to Brazil and I didn't know what to do. And I spoke to so many wonderful people with their own projects in the corporate world, out of the corporate world, within communities. I went to visit a few agricultural communities as well that inspired me a lot and gave me hope that the world can change and that it will change. So believe in the power of people who are changing, and give your attention to these grassroots movements that are actually innovating on the ground. And I'm sure there's space for everyone, because the change that we need to do is so huge that we need everyone on board. So yeah, experiment and reach out to projects and people that do inspire you. And I'm sure that you will find the path on the way.
I would like to say, again, I don't remember who said that, but I believe it was Saiz, that we've been currently we have been encouraged to fit into boxes. So this is the profession, this is who you are, your label, good to go. And then eventually figure out that that's not you, and you're just faking, or you're miserable, or you don't feel like you're using your potential. So I believe the most important thing, I mean, that's for life, but definitely for profession as well. And then I would add to something else later, and maybe this is not the conversation to have right now, but I truly believe that just from experimentation, knowing who you are and being really who you are and embracing it is the only way that you can actually give back to anything, because if you're not fulfilled with who you are, eventually you will feel stuck or without any creativity or without any energy to, to keep moving forward, and things are starting to be more difficult. I don't want to sound negative. That's definitely not who I am. I mean, I take pictures of dead banana skins, for God's sake, and for me everything is a matter of positivity. But it is becoming harder. We are more people, and we are definitely doing things that we shouldn't be doing with nature. So God knows how long we actually will have the opportunities that we have right now. So tap into who you are, and it might be a long journey of constantly changing, but I believe if I had this advice when I was younger, like, you don't need to fit in any box. You are who you are. Just, embrace, experiment. I think Julia said it perfectly, and I wish someone has told me that when I was younger. Like, just try everything out. It makes so much sense. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I am right now. Later on, it's okay. But another thing, and I spoke about this with you yesterday, Clarissa. It's so important for us to be resilient, because people will be judging us, or we more than anything, we'll be judging ourselves. Oh my God, is this okay? Like, again, going back to my banana project, if you guys only knew all the kinds of judgments that people make out of my banana project. And I was like, well, thank you. At least you're talking about my project. I don't care. I'm happy. I see a banana, I smile. Let's just keep doing it. And there's so many examples of people saying how much they actually went through, journeys of self-doubt, and other people saying that it wouldn't work or no money to keep moving forward. Just stay resilient. If you know who you are and you stay strong, that's the key to success. And then you just go.
I guess I can just add something very small on that. It is that I have an open mind, right? So for me, I wasn't always interested in agriculture or the food systems or cooking. I mean, I had a love for cooking from a young age, but as I was growing older and watching TV, and I'm seeing how things are shaping up and interacting with people, what I really wanted to do was be in broadcast journalism. So I studied journalism in school and communication. And for me, what I thought that would lead to was I'd be a TV personality, reading the news every day. I'd wear a suit and I'd be all very, looking nice and sharp, cameras on me, and I'd be a famous celebrity. And so I looked for work after my degree. I looked for work in different media houses. I couldn't get work and what have you. And so in the spirit of having an open mind, that's when I landed in the hotel industry, right? And it is through the flexibility, being able to just like, so fine, you're not going to be a big TV personality, but that's all right. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. So obviously, when I was younger, I could tell myself this. I didn't believe it as much as I do now, but something kept just pushing me to just like, let's go with it. Because I looked for work for a long time. I couldn't get work in the media industry, and I felt like a failure. Like, because again, in society, we judge success and failures not according to our own or according to accepted ways of judging these things. But then again, you're like, okay, so fine, you went to school, you didn't get a job, you're a failure. You're 32, you're not married, you're a failure. Like, so such things, of such kind of ways of defining success and failures. If you take them to heart and if you let them weigh you down, you're not going to be able to do anything. Like, you're not going to be able to do anything at all. So I think that ability to have an open mind, that ability to kind of just be flexible, like, what, fine. I really wanted this, or I wanted to pursue this, or I've put a lot of time into this, but it's not happening. So what next? Let me just have an open mind, try something new. And that is how I ended up in the hotel industry, starting my own company, writing my book, being a chef, meeting so many people, all around the world, and everyone who is so passionate about food and just making better. Because as much as what I can say for sure, as much as the food system is messed up, and as much as it needs work, there are as many people who have so much passion for the food system and and are working towards making it better. And these are not things you're able to know if you have a rigid mind, or if I'm 30, I'm not married, I don't have 2 kids, or if I'm 30, I've not done this, or if this and this and so that, like such kinds of narrative, then you will not be able to experience life and its abundance and its the opportunities that it has to offer. And I think that is something, and especially in my country, or even in the continent of Africa, where, for example, the idea of the thought of agriculture is frowned upon. It is like, oh, look at that guy. I mean, must be some kind of failure if you're in the agriculture industry. I mean, you must be a dropout, or you must be just doing it for the time being as you wait for something better. So that kind of thinking really is not the kind of narrative that you want to be part of, either inwardly or outwardly in interactions with people. I think it's quite important to just be fluid, be flexible, have an open mind, approach things with a kind of abundance, But anyway, I think that's all. I can talk about this the whole day. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I couldn't agree more with you. And I just want to add that we have to believe that we are unique and we can be the change. We can be the change that we are looking for. So thank you so much again. It was amazing catching up with you about this topic, not only important, but also urgent. And I hope we can continue this conversation and spread the word and have a more functional and sustainable food system. For the ones that are watching us, you can follow YCL and FFI to learn more and join the learning journeys. So thank you, Julia. Thank you, Lunna. Thank you, Thais. Thank you, Nick. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.